community groups that need them most.
Order, and I call the member for Fremantle.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. There are deep cultural and institutional shortcomings in Australia that continue to put women at risk and that continue to mean women face inequality and experience harm. This week, we've considered the Jenkins report, heard from Grace Tame and Brittany Higgins. It seems to me that the message we need to get as decision makers, and particularly as men, is that it's part for action and for change. Inequality, mistreatment, disrespect, these are all matters that require cultural change to our systems and our laws. But there are structural forms of inequality too. Today, I want to speak about what might be regarded as a relatively minor form of that built form inequality, namely the fact that throughout our neighbourhoods you will find community sports facilities that reflect a lack of fairness and respect for women and girls. That has been the case for a long time. In the last few years, the AFLW phenomenon has shown us what we've been missing in not being able to support and cheer for women athletes playing our distinctive national sport. But it's also shown that football clubs around Australia simply don't provide adequate facilities for women and girls. And even in sports with a long history of female participation, it's often the case that the toilets and change rooms have been designed and provided for men and boys. The reality is that sports and community facilities for women and girls are generally abysmal if they're not absent altogether. And that's not right and it's not fair. And to the extent that it means women have to change in the car or outdoors, it is ludicrous and it is unsafe. Deputy Speaker, next year Australia and New Zealand will host the Women's World Cup, the premier international football tournament, the tournament for the World Game, a different but no less beautiful kind of football. And again, at a time when Australia should be showcasing not just the Matildas and my constituent Sam Kerr in particular, but all the incredible young footballers coming through who will be inspired by the event, we know that facilities to complement that interest aren't good enough. Unfortunately, the Morrison government's approach in this area took the form of the thoroughly rotten Sports Rorts program that included at least one case where a project received money on the basis of upgrading female facilities, even though the club in question had no women's teams. Deputy Speaker, I know there are facilities in my community that need to be upgraded, and that includes both high-level facilities for teams like the Dockers AFLW side at their training HQ, the Arc in Coburn, and where they play at Fremantle Oval, in addition to the facilities at numerous local sports clubs. The Spearwood Dalmatinoch Club has put its hand up to be a training ground for the Women's World Cup, but the Morrison government is yet to make clear how it will support facility upgrades that will be necessary as part of legacy commitments we've made as the host nation. Deputy Speaker, we cannot continue to have a government that perverts community sports funding for its own political interest while neglecting to address the deeply substantive...
The honourable member's time has expired.